Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at the purpose of the physical layer. We're going to be discussing the physical connection and the physical layer itself. This episode is part of my series on Introduction to Networks. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. Physical layer is that connection between all of your devices. It could be a wired connection, it could be wireless, even could be fiber. Whatever's going to be in the future, we're going to see something like that. Now, how we get this working is really up to you. There's advantages and disadvantages to all these different connections. Wireless gives you mobility, but typically wireless is a slower connection and a little bit more unstable. Fiber gives you a higher speed connection, but it's more brittle and more expensive. You have to look at that, and that's what we'll do in the coming minutes here, is look and discuss this type of stuff. All devices, they typically need to have a network interface card, whether it's a wireless or wired. And a lot of times, your devices may have one or multiple of that. Typically a laptop. A laptop has a wired connection where you can plug in an Ethernet cable, but then you can also switch over to wireless, and that is a network interface card too, that wireless card. That's a NIC. The physical layer, once again, is the bottom layer in the OSI model, layer 1. You look at the TCP/IP model, it's in that network interface model. That is the lowest typically on both of those models that we can see. And how we get that data to send across these mediums, this wire, the fiber, the wireless connections, we start with our protocol data units. We actually start with the data from our upper applications. We get the data, and the data here is represented here. We add in our TCP header information. When we add that in, we tell it what applications we're going to use. That gives us our segment right here. Then we take that and pass that down to layer 3. We encapsulate that with the IP information. Destination address, source address. That gives us a packet here. At layer 3, we take that information, pass it down to layer 2. We put in our Ethernet information, typically source and destination MAC address. That gives us our frame. We now have our information ready to be sent across the network. We take this whole Ethernet frame, and this is where it goes through our network interface card and across the network. This is where the ones and the zeros go through and send our data across the network to its destination. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on the purpose of the physical layer. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, and depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com, and you can get all of these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on Introduction to Networks. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I linked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on Introduction to Networks. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.